Welcome to Transitional Objects, a podcast about grief, friendship, trauma, healing, and the strange cosmic magic that shapes us when we're not looking. We're two longtime friends and therapists who've been through some things, a lot of things. And now we're talking about the big stuff, what we carried, what we let go of, and what we're still very much figuring out. Unfiltered, occasionally spiritual, always real. Think of it like therapy, but with more cosmic detours and fewer billing codes.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of Transitional Objects. Bridget and I are here today with a guest. This is our first guest who we've had on our podcast. We've talked about doing this, about having guests before, but really we haven't put a lot of effort into figuring out who those guests would be until now. So we're here with our first guest. So welcome, Ashley Rosales. Thank you so much for being here. We're so excited.
Thanks for having me. I was very excited that you reached out.
Yeah. Ashley is a psychic medium and energy healer. Is there anything else you want to say, Ashley, about I know it's always such a weird question. Who are you? Tell us who you are. But is there anything else you want to say just as an introduction?
It's been a really long journey to get here to a place where I'm now identifying myself out in the world as a psychic medium and an energy healer. I've been on this spiritual journey for a really long time, but I just use those words to help encapsulate what I can do. These are certain skills and abilities that not only have I spent a lot of time developing within myself, but it brings me a lot of joy to use them in service of other people. Yeah, so it's less about an identity and more just about this is something I can do and it makes me feel good to do it. And I love to be here to talk about it.
Yeah, great. Nice. Yeah. So Ashley and I both did a mediumship training several years ago now. I don't even know how many, 4 maybe years ago. That was all online, but that's how we met initially. We've stayed in contact. Well, we didn't stay in contact for a while, but then we got back into contact when I was looking to have some medium readings done. And that has been a really cool experience. I've had a few medium readings done with Ashley. And then Bridget and I have both been, speaking for myself at least, very interested in mediums. And the two of us have gone to mediums together and had our own experiences with that. So somehow the idea occurred to us to invite Ashley on specifically to talk about mediumship. So that brings us here today.
I think it's so cool that you guys went to a medium together. I'm very interested in what that was like, having 2 people in a session at the same time.
We've done it a couple times, haven't we?
I'm trying to think of the first one. The first one was like, it wasn't just us and a medium.
Okay.
It was, I can't remember his name. Dubs,
we did go to a big show John Edward. We did go to him once.
Okay, watch out.
Yeah, you had to buy like tickets for it, and there was tons of people there, and it wasn't personalized. We had that experience, but I think we've gone to at least one other more personalized, maybe several. But I mean, the best I can remember is that might have started after Bo died, and we were both like just having all of these really kind of crazy experiences, and that opened the doorway, I think, into our interest around it. Yeah. And we're like, hey, we're not doing anything today. Let's go to a medium, because that's what we did at the time.
Yeah. And it was weird. We've talked about this before, but when Bo died, we were much younger. And the interesting thing was we were both experiencing these kind of weird things in our environment. And it was happening so often and so frequent that I was like, okay, what is the deal here? Mm-hmm. And so that, because we were both experiencing that's, I think it started. Yeah, it really did start back then. That was like almost 20 years ago, or maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then, throughout, I've had my own individual readings, not a lot, since moving in Maine, which has been like 8 years. But I do want to get more into it. I do want to have more of a connection to it and an understanding around it. And so when Laura said, she was actually, Laura, you did a brief loose reading for me.
Yeah,
I
when I
love
was trying to
doing that.
practice. Yeah.
When I think you two were together doing a
Yeah.
mediumship.
Uh-huh.
And so that I thought was just so cool. I'm just excited for today and just to see the inner workings and things that happen for you.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, you'll have to do a reading for me one day.
I'm so out of practice. But yes, I will try because yeah, it is a practice that I really do appreciate and I want to bring it more into my daily operating. So yeah. How did this start for you, Ashley? How did you get down this path?
Yeah. Well, I didn't see it coming, honestly. So I was on the like broader spiritual journey for, I think at this point it's been probably since around 2011, I think is when it really started in earnest for me, which interestingly, I just realized that's when Neptune went into Pisces, which makes a lot of sense that people's spiritual journeys would have kicked up around that time. But I spent a lot of years not really thinking about mediumship. I was just doing things to learn about my intuition and to develop it and to strengthen my ability to like be in touch with my intuition. I was also learning a lot of things about the afterlife, about spirit, about all of these things. And I was doing a lot of personal healing. So for me, my spiritual journey and the journey of healing my trauma and coming back to wholeness, they were always linked. There was never a separation. So it was a personal journey for a lot of years. And in those early years, I had this one mentor that I worked with many times. And I remember that she used to channel information during her sessions. And I loved people who channeled. I was so fascinated with channeling. And I remember she said that the way that she learned to channel was by learning mediumship. So that always just like stuck in the back of my mind. And then fast forward a few years, I started becoming really fascinated by mediumship. I noticed that I was really drawn to content about mediums. It was like I was just taking it in like a sponge. And so I was reflecting on that sudden interest of mine. And around that same time, I got this really powerful download. And at that time, my intuition was strongly developed. I felt like I had a connection to spirit. And the download said that I needed to learn mediumship before the grief hit. And that was such a powerful message that seemed to have such a clear time stamp. And I didn't know what that time stamp was because I didn't know when the grief would hit. I didn't know why I was going to be in grief. I didn't envision losing anybody, but it was so clear. Learn mediumship before the grief hits. And within a day or two, that mentor who had inspired me all those years ago launched a mediumship course. And I was already so comfortable with her. And that download was so powerful. And the opportunity was right there. And so I was like, I guess this is it. This is my next step. And that was the course that Laura and I took together. And so we learned mediumship we were practicing during that course. And it wasn't until we were almost done with that course, because it went on for a couple months, I think. It wasn't until I was almost done with it that it dawned on me that if I wanted to get really good at mediumship, I actually had to practice on other people. I couldn't just do it for myself all the time. So it wasn't until we were coming to the end of that course that I started thinking about using mediumship for others. And then that course ended, and I experienced a series of deaths after that course. There was a first death, and then a few months later, there was another death, and then a few months later, there was another death. And I just got thrown into my grief journey. And so at that point, the timing all made sense. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm on the right journey. I'm glad I learned it. It definitely impacted how I went on my grief journey and how I experienced the afterlife. But yeah, that's how I fell into it. And then I started practicing with others and I got pretty good at it. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm a medium. Check me out. This is something I do.
That
Yeah.
gave me chills hearing that. When there's just like these serendipitous premonitions that are just, they won't allow you to just dismiss it. And you do it, and it's just like, duh, this is why. Wow. Okay. That's really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah. So so that was the strong message, learn mediumship before you experience these deaths. So how did learning what you learned, how did that impact the grief?
It changed everything. I mean, admittedly, I had experienced deaths in the family before, but we weren't very close. So I didn't have really a good understanding of what it meant to grieve. But I will say, for instance, one of the losses was my dog Bear, who had been with me throughout my 20s and was really close to me. We were really close, so it was a painful loss. But for instance, when she passed, I felt her soul with me immediately, and we put her to sleep in my apartment or in my house at the time. And I essentially watched her body perish. I watched her die. And then through my psychic senses, I saw her soul leave her body in that moment of death. And then, as soon as the veterinarian had left and I was sort of a crumpled mess, I immediately felt her soul come up to me, and like she was giving me face kisses and being how a cute dog is, you know? And so I felt her presence immediately. And even just that one experience helped me to understand that death isn't what we think it is. It is the physical body that dies, but the part that enlivens us, our soul, is infinite and lives on and makes that transition so smoothly. And in some senses, death is like going home, because our truest nature is as a soul that is infinite and that lives on for all of eternity. And we just pop into these human bodies temporarily and then pop right back out and go back to our natural state. And then as a soul, we can visit our loved ones at any time. So that helped to like soften the loss. My heart was still completely shattered, but she was around. My dog was still around, and I still could experience her, and I still understood she lived on. And I had similar experiences with, I lost a best friend of mine, and she came to visit me the night she died. Actually, the night they found her body, she came to visit me in a dream. And I didn't know that she had passed away yet at that point. But in the dream, she came to me and she let me know essentially that she was leaving Earth and that we wouldn't that we wouldn't interact in the physical anymore. And she gave me a great big hug and she went on her way. And the next day, when I found out that she had passed away, I understood what that message was. And so it was sort of the same thing. Like my heart was shattered to lose her in the physical, but I had already experienced her as a soul. I had already experienced the part of her that lives on. And she still comes around too, you know? So had my mind not been opened and prepared for this, and had I not already developed the ability to communicate with spirits in the afterlife, then I don't know that I could have found my way to those understandings in the grief. It was a gift and a blessing, really. Yeah.
Profound. How does your best friend come and visit you?
Oh, I love her so much, you guys. She sometimes through dreams, oftentimes she'll come in dreams, but she also will show up kind of like when I need her, when I'm feeling really alone in particular, because she knew me so well. She was my best friend for so long. When I feel alone and like when I feel misunderstood and I'm like heavy in my emotions, she'll often just arrive. And she was such a lighthearted partier, go-getter, like take the world by storm, don't be afraid to meet people. It's like she brings an infusion of that. And I can't cry when she's around, because she'll show up in like almost the energy of telling jokes without putting specific jokes in my head. It's like she'll make me start laughing basically. And she'll also show up when when I'm going on sort of wild and crazy adventures that make her so happy that I'm going on these adventures. I'll feel her like in the car with me, excited about the trip that I'm taking. And she'll have her energy and she'll be like, yeah, you're doing it. I love it. And it just makes my moment. It's like, it makes the day. It's such an incredible moment when that happens. So yeah, she pops in and I can feel her next to me and I can feel her energy, and it's always really beautiful and exciting and
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's so much. It's profound. I can't imagine if you didn't have
You know,
this. It's like everything.
yeah, I personally, in my own journey, if I didn't have the ability to feel them around and the understanding that they were coming around, oh, I would be so lonely.
Yeah.
I would still be so deep in my grief, and it's been years, but it would be so hard to break out of it because I would feel, I think, very lost and alone and heartbroken and even confused about life, about afterlife, you know? So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's incredible.
Mm. So with your friend and with your dog and with whoever else it is that you've lost, the way that you feel their energy, the way that you know it's them as opposed to somebody else, I'm assuming there's some difference in that. Is that right?
Yeah, it's sort of an energetic signature. I tend to want to describe it using my physical senses because our psychic senses mirror our physical senses. So it's almost like different people have different flavors, but it's not that I'm like tasting them literally. It's just they have different feelings and different flavors that sort of amount to a person's energetic signature, and that is unique. And we experience that in life too with our living friends. If you just think about what it feels like to have somebody you're close with in the room with you, and you can feel them in the room with you, it's the same thing. It's like I can feel when someone's in the room with me, and I just tune into their energetic signature, and then that's how I know who it is. And then of course when I'm doing mediumship for other people, they give me information about who they are that also lets me know who they are. But for instance, I had a cousin who passed away just a few weeks ago, and his mom, my auntie, asked me to do a mediumship reading and to connect with him. And we were not very close, but he came around ahead of that reading, and I just experienced him as like a dark shadow standing in my doorway. And he was large statured, he had a big body, so he basically filled the doorway. And when I first saw the dark shadow filling my doorway, I didn't really like that. I was freaked out. It was spooky and scary. But then I just tuned in to who that was and knew immediately it was my cousin and understood why he was there. And yeah, so I never could have, for instance, mistaken my cousin for my best friend. Their energetic signatures were just so different, and it was so clear that this was somebody else. Yeah, so you just kind of like tune in and either know who they are instantly or ask them who they are, and
Mhm.
then they'll tell you.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. So
Yeah.
as a medium, then what's the practice of that? How do you translate when people are coming through who you don't know, and so you don't know their signature? How do you translate that to somebody?
It's sort of like through osmosis. So somebody will come through, and then I will get a mix of sensations. And it will be, especially in the beginning, the mix of sensations will be a little bit visual. So they will show themselves to me in a visual way that is maybe not 100% exactly how they looked, but it gives me indications of like age, stature, sometimes like what they did for a living or some part of their personality will come through in a visual way. And then if I'm doing a reading for someone, I will describe what I'm seeing, and that usually will help us get there. And then I will feel their personality sort of inside of me. It's like they drop their personality inside of me, and then I can feel it. I can feel it. So I almost feel it as if it's my own, but there's enough of a division in my head that I understand that it's not me. But for instance, if somebody was a jokester and was always like making people laugh, when they drop their personality into my body, I will start giggling. I will start laughing. It's like I will be amused. And then I'm like, oh, this is a funny guy. He's making me laugh. Even though he's not telling me something literally funny, it's like he's putting the impression of a jokester within me. Or sometimes I'll connect with somebody's relative who was maybe kind of crotchety or kind of angry or didn't really like people. And suddenly I'm frowning and I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy, he doesn't like people and people annoy him. And so now I'm angry and I'm like, I don't want to deal with people. And so they just drop their personality in me and I can feel it and then I express it. And then the person receiving the reading is like, oh, yeah, that's them. That's how they were. Yeah, so those are some of the ways it comes through. I will also feel sometimes if they had a particular ailment or sickness, I will sometimes feel that in my body as well. So, usually one of the easier ones is if the person was a smoker or had lung cancer or had some like breathing problems. that usually comes through really clearly because I can taste the smoke in my lungs, or suddenly I can't breathe very well, or I feel like I'm out of breath. Or if the person had something in them that made them feel sick, like nausea, that comes through really easily usually, or I'll feel sick as well. Yeah, so it's things like that. It's like they drop it in my body and then I feel it. And then I know, like, oh, that's not me. So it must be them.
Mm.
That's usually how it happens.
That's wild. Have you ever had, was it ever too much, like the sensation where it was like, I'm gonna go barf? Like, has it ever overcome you?
I would say there are times when it has gotten close.
Wow.
There are times where I have to intend to move on to the next piece of information because I don't want to sit in the sickness anymore. It's sort of like,
Oh,
yeah, okay, I got it.
yeah,
let's,
right.
let's keep
Yeah.
going. Let's go to the next thing.
Wow.
Or in the beginning, I would become afraid. It's kind of a scary sensation to have your body, to feel your body taken over in that way,
Yeah.
or to feel something happening in your body that you know isn't yours, but you're feeling it in a very real way. So in the beginning, it took me some time to not only get comfortable with the experience, but feel safe in it, feel it was okay for spirits to temporarily control the messages my body was sending for the purposes of the reading, and then figure out, okay, the reading is over. Let's make sure I'm not connected to them anymore. Let's do my energetic hygiene. Let's make sure I'm taking care of myself and coming back to my own energy, which that practice helped me to feel a little bit more safe in the
Mhm.
experience. Yeah, but in the beginning, it was freaky. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Is it helpful? Because when I went to some individual mediums, just me, some of them are welcoming and encouraging of giving some detail if they're hitting on something. But then the last one I went to, he was like, don't give me too much. And so, well, how is that for you?
Yeah, it's always such a delicate balance.
That's what my take was, that it's like
Yeah.
a, how much do you want? How much do you, am I going too much, too far?
I will sometimes, if somebody is giving me a lot of information, I will sometimes pause them. If I feel like they're talking more than me, I will pause them because even though it's endearing that they want to tell me about their loved ones, and it does usually come from I sort of got something accurate and now they want to tell me about them. I feel like it sort of does a disservice to the person receiving the reading because then they walk away with it wondering, oh, did I just tell them everything or did they actually connect? So if you get a little bit less information and then the medium says all of these things that are accurate, it's more impactful because then you walk away and you're like, wow, they just knew and I barely said anything. But then on the flip side, if the person isn't giving me any feedback, then for one, I don't know if it's landing. I don't know if it's making sense to them, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong, but sometimes the messages could use a little refinement or they could use a little clarification. And so that's where that back and forth can really help. Where if I ask, do you know what this is about? And they say, actually, I'm not sure, I can ask for more information. I can ask for clarity, and then we can get to the point of the message. Whereas if they give me no feedback, then I'm just going to share what I'm receiving. But some of it might be kind of vague or it might be broad because we didn't narrow in together. Yeah, so it's a balance. But usually, if somebody is telling
Mhm.
me too much, I sort of like, okay, okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
Let's keep going with the reading, you know. Tell me
Okay.
about them after.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's helpful though for someone receiving a reading, because I never knew, no, do I disclose? Do I not disclose? Do I lead them in the right direction? Am I supposed to be leading them?
Yeah.
Now, do you do readings primarily virtually, or do you prefer them in person? Does it even matter?
So I do readings both in person and online. It does not seem to matter. I learned originally through Zoom. The
That's
class
right.
that the development class was online, so I learned how to do them online. So my first in-person reading was a big deal for me, although it was just a friend of mine. So yeah, it really doesn't matter. But when I am reading for a friend who lives in the area, I do like to do it in person just because it's nice to connect with my friends or with somebody in person. And sometimes I've noticed other people prefer to not use the technology when we're doing this type of work. Other people sometimes prefer to be in person. So if I can accommodate that, I will. But it doesn't really matter. And I know some mediums who I do my sessions on Zoom so I can see the person and they can see me. But I know some mediums who do it over the phone, so you don't even need to see the person. Yeah, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Mhm.
Cool.
Because my understanding is you're picking up on the energy, and the energy exists whether it's in person or online or even over the phone. Like that energy is still there and accessible
Yeah.
to you.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. I do think sometimes when we're in person, I wonder if the other person can feel them because I'm like, they're right there. Do you feel them? I see them. They're right there. But I don't know. I've never asked that.
Mm. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I would guess that if the other person had the refinement of the skills to be able to, they would. But I don't know that a lot of people do have that refined or that ability to trust that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And I wonder too, it's tricky. Now with where I am in my life, I'm pretty open about my mediumship abilities and that that I use these skills for others, that I have sessions and stuff like that. But it's always a little tricky because you never really know what another person's beliefs are, how they feel about death, what they believe about the afterlife, what they think about spirituality, how they feel about mediums. It's always a little scary to put yourself out there that way because you don't know what other people believe. And death is so tender that if I encounter someone who's grieving and I say, I can talk to your loved one, that might make it worse for them. They might really not appreciate that. So, yeah, it's such a normal part of my life that I have to remember it's not a normal part of everybody's lives.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. And you mentioned at the beginning, I think something about it taking some time for you to come to terms with even calling yourself a
Yeah.
medium or referring to that as being what you do.
Yeah. It's been a long time
Um,
for me as well, for sure.
yeah. Yeah. How did you get to a place of comfort with that?
Necessity. I feel like I was thrown out of the birdhouse and it was like time to fly, little birdie. That's kind of how it happened is I moved somewhere new and I'm trying to establish myself as a spirit communicator and as an energy healer. And in order for me to put myself out there and establish myself in this community, build a base and find my clients, find my people, I have to be willing to sort of like walk the talk and walk up to someone and say, Hi, I'm Ashley, I'm a medium. And that's what the moment requires of me. So, yeah, necessity kind of spirit saying, We brought you this far. So, you know, time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so hard to do. I know. It's so hard to do. For me, Bridget and I have talked about this in one of our last episodes, but as it relates to just like death and beliefs around that, like some of us, me speaking for myself, are programmed for this to be like crazy, for it to feel like these abilities feel crazy, or this belief system to be labeled as crazy. And for me, it's just still, even after having had all the experiences I've had, having taken a mediumship course, like it's still so hard for me to like it just embrace that as what I believe it to
I
be.
think too, with that conversation that we had, there's also a certain power that just watching you kind of go through some of these reckonings with self and these experiences that you've had with spirit. I've witnessed you, Laura, go through like a severing of some really embedded intergenerational narrative. In a way, it's like, wait a minute, are these even mine?
Mhm.
Or is this a spirit, like a familial, intergenerational legacy narrative or
Yeah.
legacy burden? Because
Yeah.
it's causing that conflict of inside, right? Like everything is telling me my experiences, my mind space, my head space, my gravities are telling me that there's just something more.
Yeah.
But I'm crazy. This is crazy. That reckoning that I've witnessed you go through, which is really great and amazing.
Yeah. And it's a reckoning. That's
Yeah.
the word I was thinking of too. And so coming to terms with that, it's so difficult. So I love that, Ashley, that you just like, I'm a medium. That's what I am.
Yeah.
It's been a long time to get here, and
Yeah.
it's so scary as heck. It really is. But that is like it's almost like the first and longest test you encounter in developing mediumship is that inner fight of, is this crazy? Am I just making this up, or is this real? And you hit that conflict immediately when you start learning mediumship, and that stays with you pretty much the whole time. For me, it has gotten less and less and less, because it's at this point, the most logical explanation for what I have experienced is the afterlife is real. I can talk to spirit. But yeah, that is like the quintessential challenge of mediumship is that reckoning for sure.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, yeah, big one.
And then I do struggle too with people who look at me when I say what it is that I do, and they see in me a scammer, or they see somebody who is just trying to take advantage of people. Because I think that's another thing that happens with people who haven't quite realized that life goes on. They will have an opinion of mediums as, oh, you're just trying to take advantage of people in their grief. And that is like, that couldn't be furthest from who I am and what I'm doing. And so it can be painful to be on the receiving end of that kind of judgment and ridicule and criticism. And it can get, if you let it, it could get in my own brain. And then now I'm criticizing and judging myself and feeling like I shouldn't put myself out there. Yeah. So you really have to stand firm in what you know to be true and what you have experienced, and also where your moral compass lies, what your values are, what you're here to do. And that it's almost like that voice has to be louder than any of the doubt, than any of the fear, than any of the noise, basically.
Yeah. So Ashley's going to do a little medium reading for us. Before we do that, though, Bridget, are there any other questions you have?
You know me, I always have questions, but we may have to do another podcast with Ashley.
All right. Are you good to
transition,
Ashley? Yeah.
A little notebook where I am just scribbling. So what I'll do is I'll just take a minute, close my eyes, center, and I will, if it's okay, I'm going to set the intention to try and connect with someone in Bridget's line, since I've done so many readings for you, Laura. I thought, and if that's okay with you, Bridget.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I will call forward your loved ones in spirit, see who wants to connect. Once I feel like I have a connection, I will just tell you what I'm experiencing. And then I'll be sure to check in every once in a while and just ask, do you know who this is? You know what they're talking about? Do not feel bad about saying, no, I don't know who that is, or I don't know what they're talking about, because that, like I said, it just gives me an opportunity to ask for more info, to get clarity, to say, what is the important part about what's coming through, so we can figure this out together. Yeah, so I don't take that personally. Yeah, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see who comes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have somebody coming through that feels like a family member. This is a woman. She feels like a matriarch. I would say that this is like, she was a motherly figure. So either she was your mother, or she was a mother, she was a grandmother, something like that. But she's showing herself as, she's sweeping. She's like tidying up the apartment is what she's doing. She's like showing herself as sweeping. And with that, I'm getting this impression of she showed love. Maybe she didn't always say or express love verbally, but she would show you her love by caring for you, by taking care of things, by coming in and seeing what needs to be done. Do we need to clean? Do we need to sweep? Do we need to cook something? Do we need to put food in? She would show you her love. And that's how that was her way of providing. That was her way of taking care of her loved ones, the people in her family. So we'll keep going, but I'll just stop and see. Does that sound like anyone you know yet? And we'll keep going for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Let's keep going.
Okay.
Let's see why she's here, what else she wants to share. I also get with her this feeling of being like a behind the scenes type of person. So I don't think she really liked the spotlight. She didn't like to be the center of attention. She maybe liked to be near what was happening, but like in the background. It didn't make her feel super, super comfortable to have all eyes on her, have all of the attention on her. She just liked to be around. She liked to be near what was happening. And that is coming through as part of this feeling of, it's almost like she doesn't necessarily want to sit down and be the featured guest for this reading, but she's letting me know that she's around. So it's almost like maybe when you would be in conversation with her, you had to talk to her while she was doing what she was doing. She wasn't going to stop and sit down to have a conversation with you. She was like, yeah, okay, talk to me. I'm over here doing something, and you talk. And so that's kind of the feeling that she's bringing. And there's this sense that it's almost like still plays that role, and now it's feeling more specific. So she's coming through for you at this time. So this is letting me know that it's like she's one of, almost like she's a member of your spirit team, you could say. She is around you as a presence. And it almost is like she plays the same role in your life still today. So what you might not realize is, for instance, is that like she's at your house, she's around you, she's almost playing that same, almost like supportive character or background character to your life, where she is almost like a busybody in your home. She's almost like energetically taking care of things in your house all around you, and isn't showing up in a way that she's front and center. So she's not perhaps making herself known to you every day or having these very direct experiences with you. She's sort of this background character of your life, this supporting character of your life. And that continues. That would continue straight through today and into the future. Yeah, so she's around you. And so now there's this feeling of, because you might not realize this, you don't have necessarily direct encounters with her where she reaches out from the other side and you see that clearly, because you're not having these direct experiences with her. It's almost like you might not realize how much work she's doing in your life, how much tending to she is doing in your life. So just like sometimes when you have a house full of people and they're making a bunch of mess, and then somebody comes and quietly cleans up that mess, those people might think that they're not dirty, or they might think that they're not messy because they don't see that somebody was like doing the work of the cleaning. And so it's that same feeling, but on a spiritual energetic level. Like you might not even realize the impact she's having as she tends to the messes of your life, is how it's coming through. Not to call you out, this is how it's coming through.
No, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I got a lot of messes going on.
So she's saying like she's sort of doing this like tending to of the things that are occurring. And you might not fully realize how much she's helping or what an impact she is actually having. And so this is coming through for you to understand really that you're not alone in it, that there is somebody tending to the messes or tending to the fires or tending to whatever it is. So maybe you might even at times think that you're handling these things all alone, or that you have a lot of things on your plate, or you have a lot of things to tend to, or you have a lot of things occurring, or a lot of things happening. And you might almost feel a little bit alone in that. And maybe physically you are, maybe physically nobody else has the same level of responsibility of these things as you do. But she's letting you know that like on this like spiritual energetic level, she's tending to these things as well. And actually, by her tending to these things as well, it's having quite an impact. She's making a difference. She's having an impact. And it's like you wouldn't necessarily know it or see it because it's almost this like quiet, silent work that is happening. Let's see if we can get more. Let's see if we can get some examples. So she's saying that the impact would be more on an energetic level. So for instance, something might occur that sort of like logically or rationally would seem like a big deal, almost like a catastrophe or something chaotic. Like it might seem like something's happening that should seem like a big deal, but how you feel about it, you feel, okay, I could handle this. You feel like, yeah, I see it's a big deal, but it's not that big a deal. Kind of feeling like, okay, I could do this, or okay, I could handle this. Or you might feel like you're not as bent out of shape as the situation might really call for. And that discrepancy of how you're handling things really well and things don't seem like that big a deal, even though maybe chaos is happening or things are being kicked up, that discrepancy is where she's stepping in and she's helping to carry the load or carry the weight or clean things up a little bit before they get to you or something like that.
Mm.
So that's one way she's saying you might actually experience her help and her presence. Okay, I'll see
Wow.
what else, but let me just check in. Is that making sense to you?
Yeah, because I'm trying to differentiate like between a couple people
Okay, yeah.
and but when you said matriarch, it's like, oh, okay, well, I have many matriarchs
Mm.
past.
Okay, let's see what else she wants to share.
Okay, yeah.
She's showing me an image or a picture of you as a child playing with toys. And this being the way the scene is sort of unfolding that I'm seeing would be like, I'm pretty sure this is you as a child playing with toys. Maybe even, I don't know if this is the specific toy or if this is meant to be general, but I'm seeing like My Little Pony, like that kind of a toy. And she's showing me you essentially playing with the toys on your own, engaged in your own little world. And then she is just checking in on you, almost like she would peer in the room and be like, are you okay? What are you doing? She's just going to visually have eyes on you. She's just going to check. And then she sees that you're entertained, sees that you're playing with your toys, and then it will just, okay, go on about what she was doing or go on about her business, go on about her day. And so, again, with that, there's this feeling of not a lot of communication. So, I get the feeling that this was not a very talkative woman. She didn't talk a lot. She didn't need to talk a lot. There's this feeling with her that the words were not the important part. So, she was not very communicative about things. And in her way of seeing it, it was almost unnecessary to have to tell people things. You would show them or you would show up. Or so she definitely has this way of she's going to show you that she loves you. Her behavior is going to show it. The ways that she's going to take care of her family is going to show it. It's not going to be because she's going to say a lot of lovey words to you. And so that kind of is reverberating in sort of that little scene as well, where she didn't need to ask you, for instance, are you okay? Is everything good? Are you entertained? None of that. She just needed to have eyes on you. And then once has the eyes on you and she sees that you're okay, then she can go do her next thing. Yeah, so definitely not a very verbal person. And there is this feeling too that sense of, because the more I sort of press her on this, the more I feel like she's losing patience. So this idea that she maybe didn't communicate a lot of things, but she was going to show her love instead of say her love, that might have been challenged in her throughout her life. So her kids or her partner or her family, her parent, the people around her probably challenged her on this throughout her life, or maybe didn't really like it, or maybe they would almost say, for instance, why don't you ever tell me you love me? But that's super basic, but the kind of concept here, other people around her might have challenged this quality about her of not being very verbally affectionate, to the point where it irritated her a little bit. I don't know if she would have expressed that, but it was a little bit frustrating to her, because in her concept, it wasn't about words. It didn't matter what you said. What mattered was how you showed up for people. What mattered is like the presence you had. It's that you took care of things. Like that was her personality. And there was almost this feeling of like when people around her would maybe challenge her on this lack of verbal affection, it would almost have this dynamic of them trying to say there's something wrong with you, or you're falling short in some way because you don't verbally share affection all of the time. But she had a strong enough sense of character that she knew that wasn't the case. And she felt very solid in her way of seeing the world. She felt very solid in her way of knowing that words are cheap. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters how you show up for people. And she knew that. And so that would have caused tension if people were trying to push against and trying to challenge that quality in her. And then she's standing firm, like, words are cheap, buddy. What matters is how you show up. And then there might have, because of that, been a little tension between her and some of her closer relationships. So that's the next thing that's coming out. Does that help to clarify at all, or does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yes. I still don't know, like, now I'm kind of just like, it could be this woman, it could be her, it could be her, it could be her. But at first, what I thought in the beginning of this, I was like, oh, I know who this is. But then the nonverbal piece and that's tripping me up. And so as you're talking, I'm like, okay, it's not that person. Trying to, like, okay, well, who else would that be? And is it someone that I only knew as a kid? That is there any way, like, you can get more info on, like, how she passed?
Yeah, right. Let's see what she'll share. Yeah, because that piece of her personality seems very, very specific. I think that's why she wanted to revisit it. No, this is a part of who I am. Okay, so let's see what.
Oh,
So immediately what I'm feeling, I don't know if this is exactly the cause of death, but the first thing that I'm feeling is something like stomach ulcers, pain in the stomach, pain in the digestive tract. Let's see what else will come through. She definitely had a lot of, especially towards the end, she would have had a hard time eating. She would have had a hard time. It may have been interpreted as like food challenges or food sensitivities. Maybe they didn't know exactly what the cause was in the beginning, or maybe people weren't quite listening or something like that. But it would have seemed for a long time that she couldn't eat certain things, or it would have seemed like she couldn't digest certain things, or it almost would have seemed like the amount of foods that she could consume got smaller as she got older. And so this would have been like a prolonged experience of feeling sick in the stomach and not being able to consume a lot of things. And this could have been amplified with certain medications that she was taking that would have made her feel like there would have been side effects to the medicines that would have been like nausea or other kinds of, it would have impacted her appetite. It was like, okay, so there's multiple things that were happening here. There was something going wrong in her digestive system, whether that was ulcers or something else that was going wrong in her digestive system that was making it harder for her to eat foods that she had consumed all her life. And then there was the medicine that made that worse. So the medicine could have not, the medicine she was taking was probably not for that specifically. She was taking medicine for something else. And one of the side effects of the medicine was like nausea or a loss of appetite or something like that. So these two things compounded together and really made the tail end of her life quite difficult in terms of her food intake. And so she could have been very skinny by the end. It's like by the time that she passed away, she could have been very skinny, almost like alarmingly skinny, or her body in her old age was almost like alarmingly frail because of how much weight she had lost, how much mass she had lost because of the compounding of these two things. And she's also saying that she didn't like to see herself this way. She didn't like to see. I'm understanding this feeling of, it's almost like she's showing me like her soul, once it has left her body, her soul looking back at the body, looking back at her body. So it's like right after the moment of death, her soul has left her body and she's looking back at her body, and it's like she doesn't like what she sees. She doesn't like how frail she's become. She doesn't like how skinny she got. She doesn't like how, like, she shrank. She became tiny, and she's looking back at that and not. It's almost like she doesn't like that her body did that. She has like distaste for that. This is what happened to her body. That this was the end process that it went through. She doesn't like it. And the reason of not liking it has something to do with, because she considered herself a strong woman, she considered herself like a formidable presence. She was the person who like kept up with things. She was active. She was an active woman. And she had a strong sense of self and felt as though in her prime, she had a very formidable body. And so she didn't like to see herself weak either, is the other thing. It's like she didn't like to look at herself and see weakness ever. And that is one of the things that happened after she passed. It's like she's looking back at her body and seeing that her body was weak and not liking that she succumbed in this way. I think Jones is sharing. She's feeling as though for her, she felt like death wasn't a pretty picture, is the way it's coming through. It was not that it was all that terrible, but it just wasn't pretty, is how she feels. It wasn't pretty. She's saying all things said and done, it's fine. But it just wasn't pretty. It wasn't a pretty picture. What became of her body, what happened to her body, how she succumbed. It wasn't a pretty picture. And then let's see if we can get some clarity on her connection. I don't think that she was heavily involved in your life. You definitely experienced her, you definitely met her, but there is the feeling that she wasn't like a part of your day-to-day life. She didn't see you every day, you didn't see her every day. She did meet you, you did meet her. And they may have introduced you to her when you were little. There may have been some sort of introduction when you first met her, something like that, where they said, oh, this person is related to you. This person is so and. But there's this feeling that you didn't grow up with that connection. So it might even have been a little weird for them to say, this person is your family member. This person is connected to you. Because maybe that first time you met, you didn't really, she would have been a stranger or something like that. Yeah, so there is this feeling that like she was a part of your family, but there was a little bit of a disconnect in the sense that you didn't grow up around her. Yeah, there was like a meeting that took place. Yeah, and she's just saying that this meeting that took place, it's almost like when you first met her, or maybe not the exact first time that you met her, but like an early time that you were around each other. There is this feeling that for you, it might have been a little awkward as a child because they were telling you this person was your family, and yet you didn't feel a family dynamic with them. You didn't feel a family connection with them because you didn't grow up with them as your family. So when they introduced this person to you as your family, it could have made you feel a little awkward, a little unsure, a little uncomfortable in that moment. And there's this feeling too that it might be, she's showing me an image of you more like a teenager. So there's this feeling of visits. So this is somebody that you might have visited with, not somebody who was like in your life consistently, but somebody that you would visit with occasionally. So you met them as a young kid, and then there would be times when you wouldn't see them, and then you would, or see her, and then you would come together, like you would come back. It was like you would come back or something like that. It was like you would come back. You would come back to her house, or you would come visit her, or something like that, or you would see each other occasionally throughout your life. And so now she's showing me an example of you as a teenager, and almost like the feeling is different now. It's almost like you might have sought out the connection, or maybe you like intended to go visit her, you meant to go see her, or something happened that brought you back, or something like that, that brought you back to where she was. And then while you were there, you like stopped in to see her, or something like that. And this is now you're older, you're like as a teenager or something. And by then the feeling is a little bit different. It's not this like awkward, I don't know who this person is feeling. It's more, at this point, it's more like you do know who she is. You know who she is. You know what her connection is. You knew that it was like the right thing for you to do to stop in to see her, or something like that. You knew that was like an appropriate action or an appropriate behavior. And so you did it, type of thing. I'm going to ask if she just has any messages for you in terms of what you're going through now that she wants to share. So, like, why has she come through for you with that? There's this feeling of usefulness. She liked to be useful. So there's like a utilitarian element. She feels useful in your life. So she's not around you because, for instance, you were inseparable, or because you grew up together or anything like that. She is around you because she feels useful. There's something she can bring to the table in your life at this time. And she likes that. She likes to feel useful. That was like her whole thing, is that she had purpose. She had purpose in her life. People needed things of her, and she could do those things. And that was like her main energy. And so there's this feeling with like whatever is unfolding in your life right now, she has purpose in it. She has purpose. There's usefulness for her. There's stuff for her to do. There's that sort of like cleaning up, or cleaning house, or tending to the fires, or tending to the things. It's like your life is active. She's saying there's like a lot going on in your life, and it's almost like too much for you to hold, maybe, or there's extra for her to do. There's like spillover. There's something for her to do. She feels useful in your life. And it's in a way that she can help. So she can't always help. When her descendants, for instance, or her family members, or her relatives who are still living are going through certain things in their life, they don't always need what she has to offer, because again, she's not going to come to you and say all of the things. She's going to show up for you. And so in this instance, that's what you need right now. You don't need somebody to hype you up. You need somebody to be practical and help you deal with the things that are occurring in your life. And she feels very useful in that regard. And it's almost like that is what has brought her to you at this particular stage in your life. And almost this feeling too of these are like simple tasks that she is supporting you with. This sort of way of coming in and helping with the things that you're dealing with in your life, or helping you deal with the things that you're dealing with in your life, that sort of like way of helping. It's like a very simple ask of her. It's a very simple task for her. So this isn't some big confusing feat for her to support you in your life. It's what she's good at. She feels useful. She likes to be useful. She can help you in the ways that you need. And it's interesting because I keep wanting to say that, and this is what you need in this moment, but also it's what she needs in this moment. It's like double payoff. Yeah, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You're here because it's like, oh, this is where you shine.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like there's a double payoff that's happening for her. It's actually like what she needs, kind of. She needs to show up for you in this way. She needs to be useful. She needs to be needed in her presence, kind of thing. And so there's a double payoff that's happening in this moment. Let's see. Do you want to ask any last questions?
Mhm. Did she stay put? What areas? Did she move a lot? Did she stay in the same space? I don't know if you can answer that or something will come, but
Who wants to share about that? Yeah, I don't feel a lot of moving around. See, how grounded was she? So there's a feeling that she did not move a lot. She was
Yeah.
not someone who moved a lot.
Mm.
She would have stayed in like the same place, even in the same house for an extended period of time, and maybe even like in the same location for an extended period of time. So maybe even there's a feeling she might have moved originally from where she was like born to where she lived. There could have been an initial moving or shuffling to a new place, but then she gets grounded somewhere and then she stayed there for a long period of time.
Okay.
She's just going back to, it could have been that she lived in multiple houses within the same place. So there could have been like a first place that she lived when she first, it's like she moved to this place and she lived somewhere. And then she moved out of that place and moved into another place, but still in that same town.
Mm-hmm.
And then lived there for a long period of time. She's revisiting the ailments she felt. I'm wondering why. Let me find out why. Okay, she wants you to simplify your diet. And so again, there is this, like we were saying before, there's this dual payoff that is happening. What is like, so, like in the same moment, something that is good for you is also good for her. This is happening with diet. So whatever was making her feel so sick at the end of her life and really constricted her food choices and left her with this like weakened body, it's like that still lives very strongly in her energy signature. That experience still lives very strongly within her. And she is almost using that memory and now wanting to guide you through it, or guide you because it's like what she wants to take what she learned from that experience and offer you some kind of wisdom around diet and around food choices. And there is an encouragement for you to like consume citrus, like an abundance of citrus, like oranges or grapefruits or blood oranges. It's like she thinks that would be good for you. And so it's a very specific encouragement to, she wants to see you consuming more citrus, consuming more oranges specifically. And there is this feeling that it will, she believes that it will cleanse your body if you were to consume more citrus, and specifically coming through as oranges, and like a lot. Like she wants to see you eating multiple oranges a day, basically, is how it's coming through. And she feels that this would be good for you. It would be good for your body. It would help to like cleanse and purify something that's stagnant within your body. And she's even saying you would be surprised how this will make you feel better. You might not even realize that you feel a little sluggish, but then if you were to just make this one simple change and start consuming all of these oranges, it would clear away that sluggishness, and then you would feel the difference. And then you would be like, oh yeah, this is, and then this is going to feel, it feels good, it feels healthy, and now you're just doing it because it feels good and you like to eat these oranges, and so you're eating a lot of oranges. So she thinks that even just that one simple thing would be very good for you. And it satisfies something in her because it's like she gets to, it's almost like she is on a food journey with you, and whatever you put into your body, whatever you're consuming in your body, she's sharing in that experience with you. I think intentionally because of what she went through at the end. And so it's almost like she wants to combine forces with you. She wants you to know that. She wants you to know that when you consume something in your body, it's like she gets to relive the consumption of that thing. And so you could use that knowledge to eat things you think she would have loved, or eat things with her in mind and appreciate the eating of the things, knowing that her diet was restricted. But then also, she wants to see it be healthy things that you consume and not unhealthy things. Because it's almost like what you consume, she consumes, basically, is how it feels. And so she wants you to consume intentionally and to consume more fresh fruit and more live produce and like things like that. And then that pays off for both of you basically, because obviously healthy food is good. And then she gets to like relive that experience. And specifically oranges for some reason. She's big into oranges. Okay, I'll just see if she has one last message and then we can close up. And strawberries. Yeah, I think she just is really hitting this food thing. She wants you to consume lots of the goodness that the earth has to offer, is how it's coming through. She wants you to consume the foods and the beverages that speak to the goodness that the earth has to offer. That's richness. That's abundance to consume those foods. That's how she sees it. Is like that's abundance, that's richness to have those foods in your life, fruits especially. And so she wants you to consume a lot of these fresh fruits and even vegetables, but a lot with the fruits. And almost like revel in that with her. Like it's like exciting. This is like a party for her. This is like a good thing for you. It's like because we're rich. Look at like we're rich. Look at this abundance of food kind of feeling.
Oh my God. I'm just envisioning like fruit baskets everywhere.
I think she would love that. Literally, it would make her day. If that was the case. Don't waste. I don't think she would like that, but
Oh no.
there's the feeling of like she sees fresh fruits, especially, but fruits, fresh foods in general, as a form of abundance in life. And I think that was taken away from her at the end. And so now she wants to get it back through you. And also, she recognizes that it would be good for you.
Okay.
There you go. You were proud with that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We close up and then we can have a little chit chat. That was fun and interesting.
I guess I'm going to the health food store.
Definitely. And stock up on oranges in particular. She was big on that one. Oranges for sure. And strawberries if you could find them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, who do you think that might have been?
Honestly, well, I don't know. How do I want to explain this? When I was in California, Laura, do you remember the woman I worked for? She was
Yeah.
when I moved to Portland in 2016, I was pregnant and I worked for her. She was also a psychologist, an MFT, marriage family therapy therapist, and she had ADHD. She was very neurodivergent. So at the time, I didn't know I was, but I was her assistant. If you can imagine. So,
Yeah.
but what it ended up being was like she was like my California mother. And I think she would have been 71. Anyway, I thought it was her. I had just found out that she passed away of lung cancer. And I've been thinking about her more lately, and I dreamt about her, but she was very prominent. She was always speaking. She would speak up. She would organize things. She was in everything. So I was like, that's not really her. But then I guess I think when you had talked about like the ulcers and the stomach stuff, I'm like, oh, maybe that is my paternal grandmother. But she also died young. She died at 71. And somewhat, she was in a different way, like loud, like a matriarch. We didn't live next to each other and we lived in the same state. She ended in Florida. But anyway, but I do remember seeing her the last Christmas in Florida. She was like, yeah, she had withered away.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us were there, like all of the family were there. And I remember my aunt crying and I was just like, oh, I feel so bad. I spoke at her funeral and she was a true matriarch, but loud. And then I thought about, well, maybe this is my maternal grandmother who was more of a loud in her own little way, but like very academic, very intellectual, very musically sound, very, but I didn't have a lot of contact with her, even though I lived close to her. So I don't know. I have a lot of matriarchal women dead.
Well, not that they're dead, but that you had many matriarchs in your life.
Yes.
It feels, just as you were explaining, it feels like the second woman that you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It is interesting you saying that she was loud, because so much of what came through was like, this person was not a talker, this person was a shower. But maybe you could do that in a loud way, in such that maybe what she was saying was not, I love you so much, you're so special to me, I'm so proud of you,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe it's, yes, she was loud, but she wasn't loud about her love of you or her pride of you or how much.
Was a doer. That's right. She was a doer. She was always caring. Yeah. And she was very passionate about her family members.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this means anything, but during that whole reading, Bridget, I just kept thinking about your dad, like paternal side. And you said that was paternal grandmother. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Then I was like, oh, this must be on my father's side.
That's what I was picking up on.
Yeah.
Without this being my reading.
I mean, you have energies too. This is in our first sharing of energetic fields rodeo. Yeah, I think that might be it then.
That's what it feels like to me.
It's so funny with the fruits.
Yeah.
I can't even with the fruits.
Well, that's interesting too, because Bridget has digestive issues.
I
do. Really?
Yeah.
I have Crohn's disease.
Interesting.
And interestingly enough, like citrus, especially like grapefruit and oranges, are like not the best.
Yeah.
Not the best for my tract, but I don't know. Well, especially with the medication I'm on, I can't like eat grapefruit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting, because maybe those things aren't good for you because of the Crohn's and the medication, but that might mean you're lacking in the nutrients that you get from those, because you can't eat them.
Totally. That's what I was thinking too. I'm like, gosh, don't eat a lot of fruits, because I'm in the back of my diagnosing brain, Crohn's brain. I'm like, oh, you can't eat lots of citrus because it irritates. It can be irritating, but I do in the moderation, but
not what she wants.
Not a fruit basket a day.
Yeah, that's really interesting. She finds the kindred spirit, I think, in this food challenge issue.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, and she passed away with it. It was, I believe, stomach cancer. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I could feel the sickness in her stomach.
Yeah,
I don't know. She seems to be of the impression that upping your orange intake specifically would be good for you. But I don't know. Hopefully she understands the challenges there.
I know, right? I'm like, come on, you don't want to be.
Come on, lady.
No, this is really interesting. I was like teetering between two. But when you said the digestive stuff, I was like, oh, I bet it's her. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if, Ashley, other people who you've done readings for have had this experience, but in my experiences with you, often the stuff that has come through makes more sense later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like click into place or whatever, certain things come up and I'm like, oh, that's what it was about.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. Do you get that from other people too? Yeah.
Regularly. What I have found is that a lot of times what happens in the readings, especially if it's like the first time that they have done a reading with me, a lot of times what happens in the readings is it has this like deer in headlights feeling, where you have all this information coming at you and you're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to be, who is this? Who could this be? What is it they're talking about? And all of that over processing acts like a little bit of a barrier where the stuff doesn't completely sink in. And then you move past the experience and that sort of quiets down. And then the messages start sinking in and they start landing. And you're like, oh, that's what they were talking about, and that's what was meant. Or sometimes, as we've experienced this too with Laura, but sometimes it happens after the fact. And so, for instance, not that I'm saying that you should eat oranges if you should not eat them, but for instance, let's say you were to go and like up your fruit intake and then feel that stagnation shift within your body. And then you would look back and be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. So that's an example of sometimes it hasn't happened yet, or it could happen in the future, and then you understand it. I use that as an example based off of what came through in our reading. But again, don't eat foods that you're not supposed to eat. This is not me giving you medical advice.
Oh, no, I know that. No, yeah, everything in moderation where I am. But it's just so interesting, like how specific it was.
I know. And it's funny too, because you said she ended up in Florida, which is like citrus.
I know. It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think she felt really cut off from foods that she loved.
Yeah.
So how did you know, Ashley, that was who was coming through was for Bridget? Even I know you set the intention for that, but how did you know it was for her and not for me?
I didn't really know. I did set the intention up front. And this woman came through since this morning. So even before we got on the call, I saw her like sweeping my apartment. So she like came through before we connected. And I had already decided that I was going to try and do a reading for Bridget specifically. So it was intention and trust, basically. And then we get to the journey, we go through the journey together and figure it out.
Does Laura, the description of this soul spirit coming through, does any of that resonate with you?
No, it didn't sound familiar to me in any way.
Interesting.
I was just curious if that had, like, it didn't sound familiar to me personally specifically when she was talking about the digestive stuff. I was like, ooh, that feels like it could relate to Bridget.
Yes,
but I was just curious if Ashley gets some sort of translation or whatever. This is because there's two of us here, that this is for one over the other.
Right.
Yeah, I was curious how that was going to go myself.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I only just set the intention and went on the journey with you guys. So I wasn't 100% sure, but there was a little feeling of this makes sense to me when Bridget, when you were saying the three people, you went through the three people who you thought it would be. And when you got to that second woman, as you were describing her, it's like I could feel it of, oh yeah, that's who it is. That's the right person. In a way that when you were talking about the other two, that feeling didn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. It's so special. It's, when you're in it, it's interesting where your mind goes. But I think Laura has a point where I think a lot of this I'll still be processing this. It will still be, I'll be thinking about it, and perhaps things will be clicking for me after today.
Well, let me know if anything comes up that is like a real clarifier for you, or if you ever just have more questions or want to keep going or do more readings. I love to do this.
Oh, I will. Yes.
Yeah.
I've been looking for a good medium. So here we go.
We got one for you. Yeah, Ashley, do you want to share any info about how people can find you if anybody is interested in a reading?
Yes, I will. And actually, one quick thing before I do that, I just want to share Bridget, because I can still feel her, and I can feel the sickness in my stomach that she must have felt in hers. And if she's around you a lot, like it's like she was saying, there's like a two-way thing that is happening between you guys. So I just want to say, if there's a way to consume things that would soothe nausea or that would soothe an achy tummy, because I think that if you consume things that soothe an achy tummy or that would like calm nausea, I think that's going to impact her in a positive way, because she's still carrying that really heavy. in her signature. And I almost wonder if, because she's around you so much, if some of her energetic stomach ailments is also kicking up your own digestive issues because you guys are sharing energetic space. And I don't know if that's for sure, if that has anything to do with anything. But what I feel compelled to say is I almost feel like you can help relieve the upset, you can help relieve the digestive upset in her energy signature by what you put into your body, which maybe is why she was talking about that towards the end. But yeah, it's almost like I want you to drink
Like ginger.
something that will calm a tummy. Yeah, it's like I want you to consume something that will
Yeah.
calm me.
I drink peppermint tea every morning.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a connection there.
And also, like I am slightly flaring. Was flaring last night, flaring this morning. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can you have, I don't know what activates the Crohn's, but can you have things that are like thick, like creamy, even if it's
Yeah.
not cream, but just
If
like
it's not dairy, yeah. Not a lot of dairy. Like,
something warm and
yeah.
creamy, even it doesn't need to be dairy, but something warm and creamy. If you drink any kind of alternative milk, making like a peppermint latte with herbal milk or with plant-based milk, for instance,
Okay. Okay.
warm and creamy,
Okay.
and something that will tend to tummy upset.
Yeah.
I just feel
Oh
like
gosh.
I just want to make
Yeah.
it
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. This is
Well,
coming.
this is interesting though, and points to something that I think I've had some experience with, in that we in the living world, like our relationships with the people who are in the spirit world, like even the things that we do in this world can impact them and can benefit them and contribute to their growth or healing or whatever. Is that in line with your understanding, Ashley?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like it has an impact both ways. And that is like a very powerful, I think we don't always realize. We think that, like, for instance, our ancestors, our relatives, our loved ones, and spirits can come through and help us in the physical, but we can help them back just as much.
Mm.
And this in particular feels like that. It feels like
Mhm.
there's something you can do in the physical that is going to help her and the energy that she is still carrying from her sickness. And that leads me to believe then that because she's around you so much, her sickness is also, you're feeling it a little bit. And it's
Mhm.
probably just activating what you already have going on within you. It's not
Mhm.
that she's the cause of your issues, but it's probably activating it and making it a little bit worse or something like that. So yeah, there's this like
Interesting.
cycle of
Yeah.
continuity happening between the two of you in this way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you feeling
Cool.
okay? Are you nauseous?
Going away now. I think I needed to say that because before I had said it, I was still feeling very sick. But now that I have said it, it's going away. So I think
Oh,
that was the last
Mm.
message, I think, for real this time.
bless you. Oh my God. Thanks for
Yes.
enduring that with
Oh my God.
me.
But no, I'm happy to. And actually, despite sometimes being able to feel their ailments, as a whole, it feels very good to channel spirit. It feels very good to connect with the other side and to bring through messages. It usually leaves me feeling physically elevated. So
Mm.
yeah, and for people who want to reach out to me, the best way would be to go to my website, square.site. But basically, I do mediumship readings, so you can book a call with me. They usually run an hour. I usually do them over Zoom. I also offer tarot and oracle readings that I send as a video. So you can do a one-time purchase with me, and I'll do a 30-minute reading and send it to you as a video, or you can subscribe for monthly readings. And then I also offer free collective readings that I send out twice a month. And those are usually 10 to 12-minute videos of me doing tarot and oracle readings or working with tarot and oracle cards to just get a sense of what's happening for us in the collective over the next couple of weeks. They're pretty general, but usually pretty spot on. And that's something free that you can subscribe to on my website as well. And if you're in the Bellingham area, which is where I live in Northern Washington, then I do in-person energy healing as well. But I'm sure there's not a ton of people who are up here. It's a small town. But if you happen to be one of those few people, hit me up for sure.
Cool. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here, Ashley.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. That was
Yeah,
lovely.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else we need to say?
Eat more fruit.
Yeah.
Get your citrus.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, we'll sign off for now.
Yeah. Goodbye.
That's our episode. Proof that therapists can overshare too. If you're leaving this feeling a little more human, good. That's kind of the point. Send this to someone who gets it, or someone who really needs to. We'll be back soon with more stories, more tenderness, and a rotating cast of unresolved issues. And maybe a few coping skills. Maybe. Until then, hold yourself like you would someone you love.